Welcome back, MTN Giants podcast. First of all, I apologize for this being late. I don't think I've ever missed a night of a Giants reaction, but I just wasn't up for it. Like I was out for Thanksgiving. I probably got home at like 11:30, 12 o'clock, and then I faced like three guys on the Packers and Dolphins last night in fantasy that destroyed me. I was just not in a good mood, so I was like, you know what? I have nothing to do tomorrow. Let's just do it on Friday. So doing it on Friday here, and yeah, the Giants at least they showed some fight in this game as compared to last week where they didn't. And I thought the Giants would win this game, so I was wrong about it. I'm happy to be wrong because I do want that first pick, and right now as things stand, the Giants do have the first pick. That, of course, can change based on what happens today with the Raiders and what happens with the Jaguars on Sunday. But the Giants lose their seventh straight game. They're 2-10. 10 losses for the ninth time in 11 years, I believe the stat is. I mean, it's just unbelievably bad. And it's sad because when I became a fan of this team, I really thought, I'm not trying to sound like a front runner, but like I thought I was signing up to be a fan of a team that was just well run and would always be competitive. And here we are over a decade later, and it's just the Giants are kind of unrecognizable from what they used to be. It's sad. They've also lost 8 straight games to the Dallas Cowboys, so that's also embarrassing. They can't beat the Eagles either. So that whole closing the gap thing in the NFC East, it did not happen, and the Giants are still the laughingstock of this division. Some injury news before I get into the game. It seems like Dexter Lawrence is out for an extended period of time. His arm was in a sling, so that's, of course, not good. It's an elbow injury. And at this point, they might as well hold him out for the rest of the year, but just a phenomenal year for Dexter Lawrence, and his bid for Defensive Player of the Year will probably come to an end, so that's a shame. And then Theo Johnson, the rookie tight end, who actually had a nice game in this one, a couple of really nice yards after catch type plays. He is going to be done for the year with a foot injury. I don't know when that happened. I didn't see it, but he's probably done for the year. So 2 big injuries there for the Giants. There is no update on who the quarterback is going forward. I thought Locke looked a bit better than DeVito, but that's not saying much. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Of course, leave a like, subscribe, and let's get into it. To start with the Giants offense, it was just same stuff, different week. Drew Lock was hit 14 times. He was sacked on 6 times. And it was just a rough offensive line type of game. Neighbors had a couple drops, and I would say, like as I said, I think Locke played okay as compared to what we saw last week, but it also wasn't like he was any good. He had a couple turnovers, he had some missed throws, he threw behind some guys, and it was the full Drew Lock experience. Like there were times he would just wow you and make some great plays. Today it was with his legs, or yesterday. He even had that great throw. It's like one of those just hole shots to Neighbors in the final touchdown drive. Right sideline, placed it perfectly. Neighbors kept his feet in. Like it was a good throw, good play. So as I said, I mean, the Giants at least, they came out and had a more competent offense. I mean, Locke overall was 21 of 32, 178 yards. No passing touchdowns, 1 interception. I'm trying to think when. It was the Overshown pick 6. We'll get to that. Then 6 sacks taken. I mean, that was pretty bad, of course. And yeah, the offensive line, Chris Hubbard, Evan Neal, John Michael Schmitz. I mean, it's just horrible. I mean, this John Michael Schmitz pick is looking worse and worse by the week. It's just, I figured coming out of college he'd be a safe pick, and here we are, and it's like this guy sucks. So I just don't know what to think about that. It does feel like a lot of times Joe Schoen will go off the consensus pick and what feels right. A lot of people thought JMS might have been a 2nd round pick that year, or actually no, he went in the 2nd round. I'm thinking of Hyatt. Yeah, so JMS did go in the 2nd round. A lot of people thought that was a great pick, and it turns out that was not the case. And, maybe he'll go elsewhere and he'll be fine. Maybe this is just not the right fit for him, but so far it's been disappointing. For Malik Neighbors, he got his targets. He had a decent game, 8 catches, 69 yards, had a couple drops I mentioned before. That one on like 3rd and 6, that was pretty big because that could have been the difference of going for it and not going for it. I think they got a field goal that drive, I forget. But Tyrone Tracy at least didn't fumble. He had 2 catches for 33 yards. He had some nice plays, had that nice catch in the 4th quarter where he spun out of a tackle at like the line of scrimmage and picked up like 15 extra yards. So, as I said, no fumbles. That's the big thing. Theo Johnson, which is probably his last game of the year, 5 catches for 54 yards, had a couple really nice plays where he would break tackles, had that really loud helmet-to-helmet hit with one of the Cowboys defenders and picked up extra yards. So, he's really progressing, Theo Johnson. He looks like a keeper, so that's great news. Nobody else really did anything. I mean, Slayton had 2 catches for 8 yards. Jalen Hyatt had a first down catch at one point in the third quarter, but 2 catches for 8 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson, 2 catches for 6 yards. Wan'Dale had that one catch that put them in field goal range on like 3rd and 17. But overall, just bad quarterback play for the most part. It was a little better than last week once again. The offensive line, not what you want to see, of course. Evan Neal is a flat-out bust. There's that one picture of him getting kind of Euro-stepped by Micah Parsons, and Evan Neal just facing the wrong way. It's just like there's been too many pictures of the Giants' offensive line in like meme form, right? We saw that one picture, I think that was in 2021, of Nate Solder blocking his own teammate. That was rough. And then there was like the Eric Flowers tripping Calais Campbell one back in week 1 of 2018. Like the Giants just have so many offensive line still frame memes when it comes to their O-line. But yeah, so that was a rough one. I know the Cowboys pass rush is good, but even this is without DeMarcus Lawrence, who's probably their second best pass rusher, and they did not have Trayvon Diggs. So like this was not a healthy Cowboys team. And the Giants offense still looked pretty bad. I mean, at least they scored 20 points. They had their shot at scoring more. Things went their way. If a few drops didn't happen, if some holding calls didn't happen, if Drew Lock doesn't fumble the ball. So there were things that could have went differently, but I guess this team in the state they're at scoring 20 points is pretty impressive. They did hit the over-under, so that's good. 47 points. The over-under was 38.5, so they broke that by a lot. I figured it might have been a higher scoring game. I think I had it as 23-20 Giants, so, I mean, I was kind of in the ballpark, but the defense did not show up in the way I thought they would. They looked pretty bad, and with that said, and that's a great, transition. It's a great transition to get into the Giants defense. So the Giants defense, there were some bad tackling, of course. That was very evident in the run game. Rico Dowdle had his first career 100-yard game, and of course it comes in this one. Not much of a surprise, but he was 22 carries for 112 yards. Ezekiel Elliott was not really used. He had that one carry when he was a fullback and picked up a first down, so he did his job for the day. But it was all Rico Dowdle. He played well, and credit to him, but a lot of guys on the Giants did not tackle. Okereke made some business decisions once again, just some bad plays in the run game. Jason Pinnock got ran over a few times, and Tyler Nubin had that one bad play. It was a 2nd and 21 where Dowdle picked up a first down. Like on 2nd and 21, you should not be allowing a rushing first down. That was pretty embarrassing. CeeDee Lamb had a couple of drops that definitely helped the Giants defense, but still was not enough. The defense had a 4th down stop on that fullback handoff. On that play, Dexter Lawrence had a bunch of penetration, and Tyler Nubin made a great hit in the backfield, so that was a good stop by them on 4th down. It did go for nothing really, but there was a good pass breakup by Cordell Flott on Jonathan Mingo. I almost said Barkevious Mingo. That's a throwback. But yeah, Jonathan Mingo, he had a good pass breakup on the sideline there. Mingo almost came down with it. Like it popped up and he almost came down with it. But Mingo, of course, not the best receiver, at least so far in his young career. Adoree Jackson had some good coverage moments in this game. There was that one late in the game where he could have caught the interception near the goal line, and I think Tom Brady had that line. That's why he plays defense. But there was another pass breakup too. I'm trying to think of what happened on this one. I feel like Adoree had another good... Oh, it was like a bad throw. I remember this play now. It was down the right sideline. It was a bad throw. It was inside. It was supposed to be outside towards the sideline, but still, like Adoree Jackson had good coverage. Adoree also led up that touchdown to Brandon Cooks. And back-to-back Thanksgiving touchdowns for Brandon Cooks. So his first game back from injury, had that knee infection thing, and so good to see him back. But he had a touchdown on Adoree Jackson, and I thought Adoree kept up with him. It was a great throw, honestly, just one of those crossing routes, and he was back corner of the end zone, and Adoree just, maybe if it was a couple years ago, might have had the foot speed to stay with him more, but it wasn't horrible coverage, just a good throw, I think, by Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush had that fumble on the 1-yard line. That definitely could have changed the game. If that was overturned, if that stayed as it was called on the field, which I think it was called a fumble on the field, and the Giants recovered, that could have changed the game. Of course, right after that, there was the touchdown to Brandon Cooks, as I just talked about. So that knocked out fumble by Okereke on Cooper Rush, that really could have changed things. And, when I was watching it live, I thought he was down. Replays showed it was actually much closer than I thought it would be, but he was in fact down, so it was the right call after all. Jalen Tolbert had that deep ball on the left sideline against Cordell Flott. I mean, Flott had some good moments in this game, but also I saw some bad moments as well. So it's like he had to step up, of course, because Deontay Devontae Banks was out in this game. I mentioned Bobby Okereke. He was on the wrong end of some run plays, just not full effort, I feel like, on some plays, but he is a veteran. He's making a lot of money, so it's like I kind of get why it's happening. Micah McFadden had a bad missed tackle on that Rico Dowdle it was a fourth quarter, like mid-fourth quarter play. McFadden missed a tackle. It would have been like a 2-yard gain. It turned into like a 15-yard gain, so that was a big missed tackle there. And Brandon Cooks made this awesome catch on a 3rd and 2. And it was kind of a pick play, kind of not. I don't know if it was Schoonmaker or somebody else kind of cleared out some space, and Newbin had to get over from a safety spot to the flat, basically, and he couldn't get there in time, and Cooks just made a great catch. Like, it was a pretty good throw. It might have, could have been a bit closer to him, but just a great catch. He just somehow kept his hands under the ball, picked up the first down, just got enough yards to pick it up, and that was pretty much the game right there. So the Cowboys get the win, 27-20. I want to go over some specific offensive plays. I forgot to do that. Dable went for a 4th and 1 on the Giants, on the Dallas 49-yard line. Tyrone Tracy got it. It looked like he was stuffed, and then he got out of it, bounced it off a bit, and picked up like 6 more yards. And Drew Lock had that great run, almost scored a touchdown. Of course, Tracy scored right after, but it was a really good job of Lock escaping a bad pocket. It was definitely like Tom Brady was doing like he was so excited when that happened. So Drew Lock did a good job there on that particular play. The Giants had their first lead in a game since early October. That was something they said on the broadcast. I think it was like over 300 game minutes since the Giants had led in a game, which is so unbelievably bad, but it's also not too surprising. I mentioned the pick six. That was pretty bad. It was a screenplay where I think it was Singletary at the time. He was like chipping, and he chipped Overshown, but Drew Lock threw it. It got tipped straight in the air, and sometimes you just get unlucky. Like if you're Lock, maybe don't throw that one right at him because it could get tipped up and picked, which is exactly what happens. Like that was like the worst case scenario. In most cases, that ball's tipped down, and it's like you live to play another down. Of course, in the Giants' luck, it gets tipped straight up in the air. It goes right into a spot on the field where Overshown can run, pick it up, and still have momentum to run it in for a touchdown. Like that was bad luck, but also a play where if you're being really critical, you can, look at Drew Lock and say, hey, just spike that in the ground next time. It wasn't there. If it got past Overshown, that might have been a 20-25 yard play, but unfortunately for the Giants, that's not what happened. I wrote down Chris Hubbard, Evan Neal. They sucked. Nothing new. JMS was not good either. JMS got destroyed by Odighizuwa. Of course, his brother was the former Giant. This is Osa Odighizuwa. He destroyed JMS on a sack. I think it was fourth quarter by that time. Yeah, I think it was. And it was ugly. He just got knocked out of the way, knocked down. Odighizuwa was pretty much in Drew Lock's lap within like 2 seconds, and there's just nothing you can do about that. Neighbors had 2 drops, as I mentioned. Lock had that fumble in the early third quarter. He does not protect the ball. I think Tom Brady pointed this out. He kind of runs with the ball very loose at times. Like he'll tuck it, and then it's loose, and then he'll tuck it, and then it's loose. It's kind of weird how he runs with the ball. So that was a bad fumble by Lock, but that's the Drew Lock experience. There's times Lock will make an incredible throw. I mentioned the whole shot to Neighbors. Sometimes he'll make great plays, and then sometimes he'll make awful plays that cost you games. That's the whole Drew Lock experience. I mentioned Theo Johnson had some great big boy type catches. Tracy had that nice catch and run, did not fumble. That's good. The Giants had 13 penalties in this game. That's pretty awful. A lot of holding calls. I think there was a false start or 2 in there. And you just can't win like that. The Giants had 98 penalty yards. The Cowboys only had 48. So it's like, how are you supposed to win like that? At least the offense looked somewhat competent this week. That was good to see. It was nice to see them lead in a game for the first time. But the defensive line, once again, no pressure. The Giants had no sacks in this game. I mean, the Giants at one point were number 1 in the NFL in sacks. It feels like a lifetime ago. It was back in probably early October or something. Now they just can't get to the quarterback. I know Baker was not sacked last week. Cooper Rush was not sacked this week. I feel like Rush didn't play a phenomenal game, but he did what the coaches asked him to do, and he executed. So, I mean, good job for Cooper Rush, but it wasn't anything too impressive. So, yeah, I mean, look, the Giants, this is a bad Cowboys team too. That's the bad part about it, and the sad part. It's like this Dallas team, I can see if it was like the prime 2014, 2017, 16 Cowboys, and you lost by 7 with this team, it's like, okay. But this Dallas team is not that good. Like, I'm looking now, like right now, they're 6-point dogs against the Bengals at home next week. They're not a well-respected team. So if it was against like a good Cowboys team, it's like, all right, I get it, but this is a bad Cowboys team. The Giants were 4-point dogs. They lost by 7. I thought they had a real shot to win this game. I was wrong. I felt good about it after that first Drew Lock long run that looked like a touchdown. I was like, oh boy, it's 7-3. Here we go. They were down 13-10 at one point as well. And of course, Dallas, they pulled away. So just a sad game if you're a Giants fan. But if you want to lose games, and that's where I'm at, it's, I guess, not the worst outcome. So right now, they're the first overall pick, and I just hope it stays like that. I'm leaning Shedeur Sanders right now, so we'll see. The Giants had a lot of front office people. I think Brandon Brown, Joe Shane, probably some other people. They were at Colorado scouting Shedeur Sanders, so it seems like there is a lot of scouting going on for the Giants front office when it comes to quarterbacks, and that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if Drew Lock, or I don't know if Joe Shane will be there to make the pick, but it's like, hey, we'll see. And I saw a funny picture. I think Bobby Skinner posted this talking Giants. It was kind of just weird. So basically, it was Pat Shurmur related, right? So Pat Shurmur was the OC for Daniel Jones. Well, actually, he was the head coach for Daniel Jones. So he has the Daniel Jones connection. Then, of course, Pat Shurmur went to Denver and was the OC for Drew Lock. I think that was in 2020 and 2021. And then this year, he's the OC for Shedeur Sanders. So it's kind of funny how Daniel Jones and Drew Lock, Pat Shurmur connection. Maybe, that means Shedeur Sanders might be a Giant. Maybe Pat Shurmur will be the Giants' OC next year. I doubt it, but we'll see. That'd be funny, though. I really hope that would happen. That'd be really cool. I would welcome. I liked Pat Shurmur. He may not have been head coach material, but I thought Pat Shurmur's offense was good. Of course, Daniel Jones had his best statistical season under Pat Shurmur, and I thought he should have stuck around for another year. The Giants pulled the plug. Apparently, Tisch wanted him fired that year. I think Mara was willing to give him 2020. Tisch came in and said no, so they ended up firing him, went to Joe Judge, and things did not go too well there. Anything big picture-wise? I mentioned the Giants have lost 10 games for 9 out of 11 years. Dexter Lawrence, Theo Johnson done for the year. Deonte Banks was inactive. So I think that's pretty much it. I want to go through the rest of the Giants schedule. There's 5 games left. Right now, they're 3.5-point dogs against the Saints. We'll see how they look tomorrow, or I keep thinking it's Saturday. We'll see how they look Sunday against, who do they play? The Rams. So they'll probably lose that game, but they might keep it close. We'll see. So they play the Rams. I'm a little nervous about that game. I just don't trust Derek Carr at all, but we'll see. So the Giants are projected to lose that game. Home versus the Ravens. That'll be a blowout. Just stay healthy, Lamar. Stay healthy, Henry. Beat the Giants, please. At the Falcons, Week 16, just a few days before Christmas. That should be a loss. I'm assuming Bijan Robinson will destroy the Giants in that game. Right before the new year, they play the Colts at home. I mean, that game's a little concerning. The Colts have injuries. I know Josh Downs is hurt right now. Pittman's been playing through a lot. I'm trying to think defensively. I know they were missing DeForest Buckner early in the year, but I think he's back now. So, I don't have too many concerns about that game. I feel like the Colts can run for like 200 yards on this Giants defense, so I'm not like that concerned about it, but of course it's not like a sure thing, so we'll see what happens in that Colts game. And then of course at Philly, where they don't win that game very often, so it might be Kenny Pickett and, the Eagles' secondary players, but the Giants might still lose that game, so we'll see. I do think 2-15's on the table. I feel like the ceiling at this point is 3-14, which is pretty sad. And if they finish 2-15, they're going to get the first pick. I just think the Jaguars and Raiders have at least another win left in them. And even if the Giants have 3 wins, they might get the first pick. I think right now, if the Giants, as long as they don't get the 4 wins, which I don't see happening, they should be in play for a Cam Ward or a Shedeur Sanders and maybe Milroe if you like him. So, the chance to get a quarterback is there. They just have to lose these games, and so far they're doing it. They have not won since that Seattle game, which feels like so long ago. Like so much was different back then. Wow. Anyway, I saw Daniel Jones went to the Vikings practice squad, so good for him. And yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. We'll see what happens next week. We have some extra time off here, so I'll make a preview for the Saints game probably on Friday or Saturday next week. And yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed. I'm sorry for the late upload once again, but I guess you guys can't blame me. Some people sometimes give me credit. They're like, how do you stick with content for this team? I'm like, I don't know. It's something I like doing. It's just good therapy. It's just, I don't know. Like one of my friends was like, if I was you, I would stop doing Giants content. And I was like, yeah, like I see it. I get it. But I don't know. I still like doing it. So anyway, hope you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time.